All right, so these are going to be my mock trades for this NBA season. We're a couple weeks before the trade deadline. I think it's a good time to try to get some of my mock trades out of the way. I'll try to get at least, I tried to get one mock trade from every single team, but some teams that didn't have any trades and some teams that had multiple trades. And there's a lot of these trades that might not necessarily be completely realistic, but I think every trade in itself is realistic, but obviously not everything that I predict is going to happen. These aren't necessarily trade predictions; they're just mock trades that I think would be cool, and I think they're somewhat realistic um, for these teams for them to happen. So, with that being said, let's get started here. So first off, I'm gonna have a Terry Rozier trade. I mean, he's been balling out for the Charlotte Hornets, and there's plenty of people who could be looking for his services. So for the Hornets, they just be trading away Terry Rozier, and I actually have him going to the Philadelphia 76ers for a package that would include Robert Covington for Cos Korkmaz, Kenyon Martin Jr., and then Toronto Raptors pick this year, which is going to be a top 5 protected pick. But they're likely not going to end up in the top 5, so they're going to get Hornets are going to at least get a first round pick out of this and a youngish player in Kenyon Martin Jr. That could at least be a piece for them. Covington's probably going to have to be cut. They got to cut at least one player at least on their roster right now, or one of these three guys. So I picked Covington to be the one to get cut, mostly because if they respect him a little bit, he can go at least go sign with a contender after being cut from the Hornets. So that's what I got going on here. Sixers need a backup guard that can actually score because their bench is fine, but they don't have any scoring off their bench. So this gives them a really good scoring piece off their bench. The next trade here, Tyus Jones being traded. I mean, he's a pretty good player. A lot of contenders would be looking to get a backup point guard of Tyus Jones caliber, and I believe he's on an expiring contract. So the Wizards should be inclined to move on from him anyway. So their package again is just going to give away just Tyus Jones, and they're actually going to give him to the Milwaukee Bucks for a package of Pat Connaughton, AJ Green, and then a couple second round picks. Pat Connaughton's not been playing a lot for the Bucks right now, and he's probably not going to be a piece for the Wizards either, so they're probably going to end up cutting him. He just needs to be in here for to match the salary, and then the Wizards will get a decent young-ish guard in AJ Green, who maybe could be a potential role player for them, and they get a couple second-round picks out of it. So, not the best package here, but you're trading away an expiring pick, and at least you get a couple second-round picks out of it. So, you know, trading an expiring player for at least something is not a bad deal for the Washington Wizards. Next up, we're going to have Jeremy Grant being traded. I know he just signed a huge extension with the Blazers, but a big part of that extension was trying to prove to Damian Lillard that you are, in fact, like dedicated to trying to contend. But obviously, that did not work. So I think he is a prime candidate to be traded. I'm not sure how many suitors are going to be for Jeremy Grant because he's on such a big contract. But the team that I'm going to have is going to be the Cleveland Cavaliers because they don't only have to give up Isaac Okoro as their only real player they're giving up here because they got Georges Niang and Dean Wade who are both fine, but neither one of them have a huge role on this team right now, and they don't have to give up a whole lot. I mean, Isaac Okoro is a good piece, but Jeremy Grant is better than Isaac Okoro, and they give away a couple role players in Niang and Wade that aren't really too much, and then they give up, like 3 second round picks in this deal. I mean, I think it's a good move for the Cavs. You're trading away some depth and a little bit of future draft picks. They're only second round picks, anyways. And then you get a really good guy in Jeremy Grant, who's be a really good piece on this Cavaliers team. And for the Blazers, you're getting a really good potential young player in Isaac Okoro, then a couple of role players that you might end up flipping for something else later. Then you get a couple second round picks out of a guy that in Jeremy Grant that you're going to be owing $30+ million over the next 4 years. So I think this is a good trade for both sides. Blazers going to save a lot of money and get a younger guy, and the Cavs get a guy that helps them be better contenders right now. Next up here, we got Alani Walker trade. I mean, he's a guy. I don't think this Nets team is going to do much in the play-in if they even get into the play-in. So I feel like they should be looking to sell a couple of their veteran dudes that are on expiring deals, like Lonnie Walker. He's only 25 years old. He's not really a veteran, but I think there'll definitely be some suitors for his services. I think the Nets should be looking to shop. So yeah, they only got to trade Lonnie Walker. I think I'm going to have him go into the Boston Celtics here. They're going to just trade him O'Shea Brissett and a 2024 first round pick. Now that first round pick is going to be, bottom four probably pick in this NBA draft, so like 27-ish to 30, depending on how the Celtics do in the playoffs. But it's probably not going to be the best overall pick. But for the Nets, you're still getting, first round pick out of Lonnie Walker, who's going to end up being a free agent after this year anyway. So I think it's a pretty good deal for the Nets. And then obviously the Celtics, you're getting a really good guy that'll help you be contenders this year, and you're not trading anybody that actually plays for your roster right now. Next up, I got a Bojan Bogdanovic trade. I mean, he should definitely be somebody that the Pistons try to trade. They can get some decent assets for this guy. I believe my trade that I picked was not the most Pistons friendly trade, but we're going to go over it right now. I believe I got them going here to the Clippers. Yeah, so I mean, they're trading Bojan Bogdanovic for Bones Highland, PJ Tucker, Dano Tice, and then 2 second-round picks, one being from the Jazz this season, which that might be a decent second-round pick, but still, they don't have a high second-round pick. They don't get a first-round pick out of Bojan, but I do believe he's on an expiring contract. I do think he's somebody that they should be looking to trade, and this is not the best package that they could maybe get for him, but it's not the worst package. I mean, you get a good young point guard there in Bones Highland. You get PJ Tucker, who you can cut, or you can try to potentially make this into like a 3-team deal and try to get PJ Tucker flipped for another asset. And then you got another guy like Dano Tice, who you could cut or flip as well. So really, Bones Highland is the package here with a couple second-round picks. It's not the best, but if this was like one of the only calls you got for Bojan Bogdanovic, it's not the worst one that you could accept. Next up, we got a Landry Shamet trade. I mean, he's on the Wizards right now. He's on an expiring deal, I think. Wait, no, he has 2 years left on his deal. I think he's getting like $10 million a year for this year and next year. So for the Wizards, I would like to see if I can trade him for an expiring player. So the package here I got is Landry Shamet, and then it's going to the Grizzlies for Luke Kennard. So like I said, Landry Shamet is getting paid $10 million for next year. And if I'm the Wizards, I want as much cap space in this offseason as I can, probably, because you're not doing much with your roster right now. So I think you need to. Landry Shamet's not a guy that you're going to be, trying to hold on to as a future asset. So you might as well try to get him off your team and open up some salary cap. And for the Grizzlies, Luke Kennard is a guy who's on an expiring deal, and you're not going to want to pay Luke Kennard as much as he's getting paid right now. And Landry Shamet is definitely a guy, that you could try. He's probably at least as good as Luke Kennard, right? And then you get him on your team for next year as well for probably cheaper than what you could re-sign Luke Kennard for. So that's the thought process there for the Grizzlies. Next up here, we got a Clint Capella trade. I do think the Hawks should try to trade Clint Capella, especially if they're going to be trading DeJounte Murray. At that point, you're already not contending right now, and you're probably not going to be a contender next year either. So, at that point, you might as well end up trading Clint Capella because he only has 1 more year on his deal. And every time, if you keep waiting until, the offseason or next trade deadline, his value is just going to go down. So I feel like you need to maximize his value and try to get him off your roster as soon as possible. So the package here I got is the Hawks trading away Clint Capella, Wesley Matthews, and a Minnesota 2025 second-round pick. And then you're going to trade into the Thunder, actually, for Davis Bertans, Alexis Pokusevski, and then a Utah Jazz top 10 protected first-round pick from this year. So breaking this down, Davis Bertans is just salary filler, who is an expiring deal. So if nothing else, you get off of Clint Capella's contract a year earlier. You get a potential young rotational piece in Alexis Pokusevski. I think it could be a decent rotational piece for the Hawks in the future. And then you get the Utah Jazz top 10 protected. Right now, they're going to probably be close to that top 10 range. They could fall at 11. They could obviously. I don't project the Jazz to make the playoffs, but currently they're in the play-in. So if they somehow make it out of that, then we'll get a decent pick. If they make it into the play-in, at least you'll get a decent pick from them because they will. Likely fall out of the top 10, but if that pick does fall in the top 10, you'll get a first-round pick next year anyway, so it's not a horrible option for the Atlanta Hawks here. The Oklahoma City Thunder, you're not really trading any rotational pieces on your roster right now, and you're getting a really good player in Clint Capella, who'd be a good piece to your roster, and you're only giving up really a first-round pick. That you're probably not too invested in, considering you have so many other first-round picks on your team or on your whatever to trade. Next up, you got a Cedi Osman trade. He's a decent guy in the Spurs, who I feel like a lot of contenders would like to have on their team. So the trade I got here is going to trade Cedi Osman and a Lakers 2024 second round pick to the Heat actually for Nikola Jovic, Haywood Highsmith, and Orlando Robinson. Some people might think this is kind of a lot for the Heat to give up. I believe Nikola Jovic and Haywood Highsmith are good role players, but I think Cedi Osman is individually better than either one of them. And I do believe Cedi Osman on this Miami Heat team would work out really, really good. I think he'll develop really good with Eric Spoelstra and stuff. So, Heat are going to be trading two role players here that actually get some playing time. And they got to throw in Orlando Robinson there. He's just there to fill some salary. But Jovic and Highsmith both play some minutes for this team. But I think Osman's better than both of them. So I feel like you get an upgrade over them instead of having to play, two decent guys. You get to play one better guy. So I think it's a good trade for the Heat. And they do get a second round pick out of the deal as well to kind of counteract that a little bit. So I think it's a good trade for both sides there. Next up here, we got Gordon Hayward. So he's on an expiring deal from the Hornets. I feel like a lot of contenders would not be opposed to getting a guy like Gordon Hayward. It's just the fact that he's on a $30 million contract makes his, value a little bit limited. So right now I got the Hornets trading just Gordon Hayward to the Magic for Gary Harris, Jonathan Isaac, Chuma Okeke, and a 2024 second round pick. So Gary Harris is on an expiring deal, so they get off of some of that money from Hayward, and they have to pay Jonathan Isaac for one more year after this, which is not a horrible deal because he's not a bad player. He's not been playing really great this year, but I feel like on the Hornets, he'll have less pressure and probably can be a little bit a better player there. They also get a young guy in Chuma Okeke who maybe could be a decent role player, and they get a second round pick here from the Magic who's not going to be a horrible pick, but it's not going to be much of a pick there. But mostly, you're getting a second round pick, and you're getting Jonathan Isaac out of a deal for Gordon Hayward, who's going to be on an expiring contract. So it's not a bad move for the Hornets and for the Magic. Okeke doesn't play, Gary Harris plays for you, but Gordon Hayward's certainly better than Gary Harris. Jonathan Isaac hardly even actually plays. He plays 15 minutes a game. So Gordon Hayward definitely makes your roster better right now and makes you more of a contender for this season. And then, losing him after this season, it's okay because you're not really giving up a whole lot. You actually gives you a lot more cap space by getting off of Jonathan Isaac's contract. So I think that's a really good move for both teams there. Next up here, I will have the Kelly Olynyk being traded from the Utah Jazz. He's a good player. A lot of contenders will also be looking to get a guy like Kelly Olynyk because he's a really good shooting big. So I think he's definitely a player that a lot of contenders would like to have on their team. So I'm going to have the Jazz trading Kelly Olynyk as well as Chris Dunn to the Minnesota Timberwolves here for Kyle Anderson, Wendell Moore, and a 2024 second round pick from the Memphis Grizzlies. So for the Jazz, you're trading away a good player in Kelly Olynyk, decent role player in Chris Dunn. You're getting Kyle Anderson, who I believe is an expiring contract. You're getting a young guard in Wendell Moore, and then you're getting a really good second round pick in Memphis Grizzlies. It's going to be a top 5 pick in the second round probably. So it's a really good move for the Jazz. I feel like you're offloading on expiring deals for very least a decent second round pick, and then a young guard that might be something. And then for the Timberwolves, obviously you're not really trading a whole lot. Kyle Anderson plays for you, but Kelly Olynyk will be better than Kyle Anderson. So you're definitely upgrading that position there, and then you're not really giving up anything else of value on this team. And you do get Chris Dunn back on your team, which is kind of cool there. Next up here, I got Alex Caruso being traded. I feel like the Bulls should go in full sell mode. They got a bunch of players that they could try to sell, and I think they should try to trade all of them because honestly, you're not doing anything else with this roster. So you might as well try to trade all your pieces so you can go into full rebuild mode. And the first piece being moved here is Alex Caruso. You're going to trade him to the Kings actually for a package of Davion Mitchell, Chris Duarte, 2027 first, 2025 second round pick, and then a Portland 2025 second round pick. So, I mean, you're getting a couple youngish guards in Davion and Chris Duarte who might be role players for your team. You're getting a first round pick. It is a few years away, but you're still getting a first round pick, and then a couple second round picks for next year. It's a decent package for Alex Caruso. You're getting a first round pick and a couple players out of this team, out of this deal, and that definitely would help you jumpstart your rebuild. And maybe in 3 years, the Kings might be bad, and that could be a very valuable 2027 first round pick. And then obviously for the Kings, you're not trading much away from your current roster, and you're definitely helping build your team towards contender status by getting a really good role player there in Alex Caruso. Next up here is going to be another Chicago Bulls player, DeMar DeRozan. I'm going to have him getting traded to the New York Knicks, actually. The Knicks certainly have the ability to be able to get this done. They have a lot of draft picks over the next couple years. They got an expiring deal here with Evan Fournier, and they can flip Precious Achiuwa, from he was obviously a part of that RJ Barrett and OG Anunoby trade. So you're going to trade an expiring deal here with Evan Fournier to match the money. Precious Achiuwa, who could be a decent role player for Chicago, and then a 2024 and 2025 first round pick. You already have the Dallas Mavericks first round pick for this year, and that's probably going to be better than your pick anyway. So you're not missing too much there. You have the Pistons first round pick, which is for this year, which is likely going to end up pushing towards next year because it's lottery protected. So you're getting a 2025 pick from the Pistons, which is going to be better than your pick anyway. So you already have a first round pick that is better than your own for the next two drafts. So giving up your own first round pick is not exactly a whole lot of loss for you guys. And you're only doing this assuming that you guys can re-sign DeMar DeRozan, because I'm not giving up your two first round picks if you're not confident that you're going to be able to get DeMar, because I don't think this makes you like, I don't think you're going to be contenders this year if you get DeMar DeRozan, but definitely if you can re-sign him to your team and then get some more pieces around him, I think you could be a contender in the next couple seasons. Next up, we got Spencer Dinwiddie. I think he's a guy that should be able to get traded. The Nets should be selling all their guys that are on expiring deals. And Spencer Dinwiddie is on an expiring deal. I have him going to the Lakers here, actually, for a package of Gabe Vincent, Max Christie, Jared Vanderbilt, and 2025 second and a 2024 second from the Los Angeles Clippers. So, you're getting a couple role players here from the Nets. Gabe Vincent and Jared Vanderbilt could be good role players for your roster. Max Christie is a potential piece in the future. And the Lakers, obviously, you're getting, a really good guard here in Spencer Dinwiddie. I think this makes a lot more sense than a guy like DeJounte Murray for the Lakers, because I don't think this Lakers package is doing all that. So yeah, I do think this is a good move for the Lakers, because obviously Spencer Dinwiddie is a really good player that could help them out a lot this season. Next up, it's going to be the DeJounte Murray trade. I don't think he goes to the Lakers. I think that's not very realistic here. But I do have him going to the Orlando Magic. I like this deal a lot. They get a Markelle Fultz, Jet Howard, 2024 first, 2025 first from Denver, and then 2025 Boston second round pick. So for the Hawks, obviously Markelle Fultz is a good player. You're gonna have to re-sign him, but I think the Hawks do that. They get Jet Howard, who could be a really good guy for you in the future. You get a couple first-round picks out of the deal. It's definitely not a bad thing for Dejounte Murray. And then for the Magic, obviously you're getting Dejounte Murray, which helps you guys be a really really good team. You already got Gordon Hayward in my mock trade, and you're gonna get Gordon Hayward and Dejounte Murray. You guys could be a really really dangerous team in this playoff run, and certainly going forward with DeJounte Murray. Obviously, you don't have Gordon Hayward going forward, but it'll definitely make you a lot better for this upcoming season. And DeJounte Murray helps you be a really good team for the future as well. Next up, I will have Malcolm Brogdon. I think Blazers should definitely look to trade him, because that he's not doing much for this team right now, because they're not obviously not trying to win games, so we might as well try to get something out of Malcolm Brogdon here. I have him trading Malcolm Brogdon and flipping Dean Wade from that Jeremy Grant trade. Going to go to the Mavericks for Maxi Kleba, OMP, Olivier Max Prosper, however you say that. Rashawn Holmes, you get a first-round pick in 2027. You get a 2025 second and a Toronto Raptors 2025 second-round pick as well. So yeah, for the Blazers, you're getting a couple role players on your team. You're not really too excited about that. OMP could be a decent guy for your future, maybe. Then, you do get a first-round pick. It's in a few years, but, the Mavs in 3 years could be a really bad team, and you could get a really good pick out of that. So definitely a positive for the Blazers, because Malcolm Brogdon isn't doing a whole lot for them in the future, so you might as well try to get something that can help you. And then for the Mavericks, obviously, you're getting a really good backup guard for your roster in Malcolm Brogdon, and not trading any real rotational players right now. Maxi Kleber plays some, but he's also only played like 8 games all year because he's been injured. Rashawn Holmes and ONP hardly ever play for your team, so you're not giving up a whole lot to get a really good guy in Malcolm Brogdon on your roster. Next up here, I do got Kyle Kuzma being traded from the Wizards. I feel like he definitely could be staying with the Wizards, but obviously, Wizards are not a good team, and I feel like if you can get a good package out of Kyle Kuzma, you got to jump on that because I don't think he's helping you be a really good team in the future. So, might as well try to trade him for something that could be um, future assets. And I got him trading Kyle Kuzma and flipping AJ Green from the Tyus Jones deal, and him going to the Nets for a Dorian Finney-Smith, Royce O'Neal, Max Christie, Boston 2024 first, and a Phoenix 2025 first. So basically, these players don't matter. Dorian Finney-Smith and Royce O'Neal are salary fillers who are going to be expiring deals. So you get some cap space. You're trading AJ Green for Max Christie. It's basically a wash right there. But you do get 2 first-round picks. The Boston pick's probably not going to be very good, but that Phoenix pick could be a good pick potentially. So you definitely got some. But you're getting 2 first-round picks out of Kyle Kuzma, and you're getting immediate cap relief. So I don't think it's a horrible deal for you guys. And obviously for the Nets, I mean, you're not really giving up a whole lot. Dorian Finney-Smith and Royce O'Neal are good players for your team. And you're giving up 2 first-round picks, like I said, aren't probably going to be great first-round picks anyways. And you're getting a really good player in Kyle Kuzma, who I think will definitely make this Brooklyn Nets team really interesting, especially if you could somehow have a healthy, good Ben Simmons on your team, but that's probably not going to happen. But still, a core around Cam Thomas, Kyle Kuzma, Mikal Bridges, Nicholas Claxton. I feel like that's not a horrible core of guys around there. It should definitely be an entertaining team, to say the least. Next up here, we got Saddiq Bey being traded. I feel like the Hawks should try to get him traded. He's on an expiring deal. He's probably going to want quite a bit of money. And potentially you guys could still re-sign him in free agency even if you do trade him here. So it's not really going to be the worst guy to trade. I believe you're going to go trade him to the Nuggets. The Nuggets should really try to get a guy like Saddiq Bey. The Nuggets have some depth, but they don't have a whole lot of depth. I feel like trading a young guy like Jalen Pickett, and then their center here and Zeke Naji. Neither one of these guys are. Jalen Pickett's been a solid player for them. Zeke Naji has not really been good right now, and then you're giving up a second-round pick from Minnesota. It's going to be a late second-round pick, and you're getting a good guy in Saddiq Bey. So for the Nuggets, definitely makes you a better team right now. For the Hawks, nothing else. You get a good young guard here in Jalen Pickett for your team. So that's not a bad option for either team. And I think this one was my last trade, I believe. No, I know I got a couple more. Zach LaVine. I do have Zach LaVine being traded because it just makes sense. The Bulls aren't a good team, so you might as well be trying to trade away a guy like Zach LaVine. I got a 3-team trade here, actually, so I'm just going to put them all out here. So first, I got the Bulls trading Zach LaVine, obviously. They're going to get Jarace Walker, Jalen Smith, and James Johnson from the from the Indiana Pacers. Are going to end up cutting Jalen Johnson. They're going to get Shake Milton, Troy Brown Jr., Leonard Miller, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, and a Utah 2025 second-round pick from Minnesota. So for the Bulls here, you're getting mainly Jarace Walker, Jalen Smith, Troy Brown, Leonard Miller, and Nickeil Alexander-Walker. You're getting two young guys in Jarace Walker and Jalen Smith. It could be really good parts of your future. A couple of role players here in Alexander Walker and Troy Brown Jr., then another potential young guy in Leonard Miller. So I think it's a good move for the Bulls. You don't get much first-round picks out of here. You don't get any first-round picks, but you definitely get a good core of guys. For the Pacers, I have them obviously trading Jarace Walker, Jalen Smith, and James Johnson for Zach LaVine. They're also going to throw Buddy Hield into this trade, and I have him being flipped to the Minnesota Timberwolves. So for the Pacers, giving up a good player in Buddy Hield and a couple potential young guys in Jarace Walker and Jalen Smith who don't really play for your team right now, for a really good player in Zach LaVine, I think it makes you guys a true contender for this season, honestly. And the Timberwolves, you're getting Buddy Hield. You're going to trade a couple guys that don't really matter too much. Troy Brown, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Shake Milton, Leonard Miller. None of those guys really going to matter to your roster a whole lot. A couple of those guys play right now, but not a whole lot. And Buddy Hield is definitely a way better player than any of those guys. And it makes you guys, that much more of a true contender this season. Next up here, I got Nikola Vucevic being traded. I think he should be traded. The Bulls are selling everybody else, so might as well. I think the New Orleans Pelicans got a good package here to get him. Trade Larry Nance, Kyra Lewis, Chicago's 2024 second, so they get their own second-round pick back. Then they get a 2024 first. It's going to be the worst of New Orleans versus Milwaukee's pick, so it's probably going to be Milwaukee's pick, which is probably going to be like 26, 25 or lower. So not the best first-round pick, but you're still getting a first-round pick and early second round pick, as well as a couple role players to your team for Nikola Vucevic. So it's not a bad trade for you guys. And then the Pelicans are really only trading Larry Nance for a better player in Nikola Vucevic, and it definitely helps you guys be better contenders. Next up is Seth Curry. I feel like he's a guy that could potentially be traded. He does not play a whole lot for the Dallas Mavericks, so maybe they can try to trade him for something, and other contenders might be more interested in him than Dallas is right now. So I got him going to the Phoenix Suns, actually, for Jordan Goodwin, Caleb H.D. and a Denver 2024 second. This is a pretty low-key trade. Suns are hoping that Seth Curry can be a better shooter on their team than he was on Dallas this year. And then, the Mavericks, basically, you get in a couple potential role players and you get a second-round pick out of it. So it's really not too much of a risk for either team here. Next up is going to be Andrew Wiggins. So this is my last trade here. No, I'm pretty sure the Warriors, I feel like, need to trade somebody. Andrew Wiggins is obviously a guy that's going to get traded if anyone's going to be traded. I actually have him packaging Andrew Wiggins and Jonathan Kuminga together, as well as Gary Payton in a 2027 first. They're actually going to get a really good package here from the Utah Jazz with Jordan Clarkson and John Collins. So I think, obviously the Warriors don't want to be contenders right now. I feel like Jordan Clarkson and John Collins are really good players for this Warriors team, and Andrew Wiggins has not been good this year. Gary Payton has not really played a lot this year, and Jonathan Kuminga has been a good player, but Jordan Clarkson and John Collins are definitely better than those guys right now. And the Warriors are going to have to throw a first-round pick in here because for the Utah Jazz, I'm not really too excited about Andrew Wiggins' future, especially with his contract. I'm not too excited about Gary Payton. He's going to be an expiring deal anyways. And then you're only really getting Jonathan Kuminga for your future out here for the Jazz. So I feel like we definitely got to throw that first-round pick in there to make the Jazz willing to actually do this trade. And then next up here, I got some free agents. There's plenty of free agents on this in the league right now, as well as some people with these trades that are going to have to get cut. So I feel like I wanted to go over the big name free agents and find a good landing spot for them. So I am going to do that. Got Rudy Gay going to the Sixers. They could use a potential depth at their stretch four position. They're also going to get a good guard depth there in Austin Rivers. I got the Blake Griffin going back to Los Angeles Clippers, being a potential piece for them. Might not get a whole lot of playing time, but he's still at least an interesting piece to see there. Justin Winslow, I have him going back to Miami. They could use another potential wing depth piece there. I have Montrezl Harrell going to the Knicks. They tried to get a backup center with Taj Gibson, but that didn't work because they already released him. So I feel like signing another guy like Montrezl Harrell could be the move there. I got Robert Covington going to the Lakers. Lakers could really use a good Robert Covington. He has not been good this year, but if he is good with the Lakers, that'll definitely help him out a lot. Lakers also get a guy like Terrence Ross, who has not played this year, but definitely a guy that I feel like they should try to go after because he, has history of being good. Kemba Walker with the Cavaliers. He hasn't played this year, but he has history of being good. Obviously, the Cavs could use a little bit of guard depth, so it doesn't hurt to try to sign him. Joe Harris also for the Cavs. The Cavs could use another good shooter depth, so it's not a bad idea to try to sign a guy like Joe Harris. The Javon Carter to the Magic. He's been decent for the Bulls this year, so you might as well try to sign him on your team. The Bulls had to cut him because they got like 8 players extra in their trades. So they got to cut a bunch of guys. So Javon Carter had to get cut, and I feel like the Magic should pick him up. Darius Bazley, I feel like, is a good piece for the Magic to potentially have on their team as a depth guy. He hasn't played this year, but he has history of being decent, so not a bad pickup. George Hill to the Pacers. He said he played for the Pacers last year. He said he wasn't retiring and he wanted to retire with the Pacers, so this is his last chance to have any, be on a team. So I feel like at least sign him for. It doesn't really have to play him, or just sign him on your team so he can then retire. Pat Connaughton also, he's been decent for the Bucks, and he's a free agent now, so pick him up. He's a good guard piece. Patty Mills for the Timberwolves. He was a good piece for the Hawks. Played a little bit. I feel like he could be a potential piece for the Timberwolves. Nerlens Noel could be a piece for the Timberwolves too. He has not played this year, but he's a good defensive guy for that team. PJ Tucker back to the Bucks. He has not been good this year, but the Bucks would definitely be willing to get a guy like him back on their team. Danny Green to the Kings. He hasn't played this year, but he has history of being a good three-point shooter, and the Kings could use that. And Evan Fournier to the Warriors. He has history of being good, and the Warriors could use a guy who's good. So yeah, that is my video. Thank you for watching. Let me know your thoughts and comments, and make sure to check out my other videos as well.